Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. It's Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. You're watching DeProgram with me, Ted Rall, and John Kiriakou. Lots to talk about. John and I are having quite a day, but hey, so is the country.
That's right.
John, you were just on the phone with a guy who's kind of been in the news lately.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to tell us about it.
I was asked at the last minute to appear on a show called Redacted on the Unified Television Network, not realizing that I was going to be asked to appear along with Congressman Thomas Massie. So I got on, and as soon as I got on, Massie got on, and he was absolutely fascinating. The whole thing was about Jeffrey Epstein. And I've been trying to talk a lot about Jeffrey Epstein because these political developments surrounding the Epstein, it's not a case anymore, but the Epstein situation are complicated. He made them more complicated with what he said. So here's what he said. You know, he used to be on the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee is the single most important committee on Capitol Hill because the members of the Rules Committee decide what bills go to the floor for a vote and what bills are just killed. Because he's an independent thinker, he was removed from the Rules Committee and is no longer a member. But he says, I'm a smart guy. My time on the Rules Committee taught me how to write a discharge petition. A discharge petition is a very rarely used parliamentary trick in the House of Representatives. I remember it being used once when I was in college in 1986. What a discharge petition is this. Let's say there is a bill to make Ted Rall Day, okay? And most...
Well, that would be unopposed.
Yeah, well, see, you'd think. So that's what I was going to say. Most people want a Ted Rall Day, right?
But why not?
But there's this one asshole on the Rules Committee who says, you know what? I don't like Ted Rall. He made fun of me in a cartoon one time, and I'm not going to allow this thing to go to the floor for a vote. So Congressman Kiriakou then writes up what's called a discharge petition. A discharge petition, if it gets a majority, that's 218 votes, forces the bill out of the Rules Committee, whether they like it or not, to the floor for a vote. Okay. So until 1933, you needed 25% of members of Congress to vote yes on a discharge. They changed the rules in 1933. So now you need 218 votes to force a bill to the floor. Thomas Massie just now said that he has a bill to force the administration to release every scrap of paper that exists related to Jeffrey Epstein to the public, including, videos and hard drives and black books and files and emails and everything they have. And Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, said, oh, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. That's going to embarrass the administration. And the president has already said that there are no files. We can't contradict the president. So Massie went to Hakeem Jeffries. And Hakeem Jeffries says, you know what? I can guarantee you every single Democrat in the House of Representatives, meaning that Massie has to come up with 5 Republicans. He's one. That's 4 more. Marjorie Taylor Greene said yes. That makes 3 more. So he's in talks with the Freedom Caucus. That could be as many as 6 more, which would give him enough to discharge the bill from the Rules Committee. So what did Mike Johnson tell him today? Mike Johnson said, if you persist with this, I'm going to change the rules, which haven't changed since 1933. And I'm going to make it so that you need 2/3 of the members of the House of Representatives, not 50% plus 1.
can he change the rules unilaterally, or does he need a vote?
Like that, with the stroke of a pen. He can do anything he wants because he's the Speaker of the House. Another thing, too, Massie said, and this was so interesting to me, he wants to subpoena people in the Jeffrey Epstein orbit. Well, when I was a senior staff member on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, I had subpoena power. You know, it's not something you want to do every day. It pisses people off to receive a subpoena. But if you have somebody that just refuses to testify, you have to issue the subpoena and then force them to come and testify before your committee. So Massie issued a whole bunch of subpoenas for all these different people to come before the House and testify as to their role in facilitating Jeffrey Epstein's crimes or in not helping to end Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. So what happened? Mike Johnson changed the rules. And so now the only people who can issue subpoenas in the House of Representatives are Mike Johnson's attorneys. No member of Congress can issue a subpoena as of today. Only Mike Johnson's attorneys. So the fix is in, man. You know, we were saying day before yesterday when Johnson announced that he didn't want any votes on Epstein, so he's just going to shut down the House of Representatives until September so that there won't be any votes. Now, you can't even issue a subpoena, let alone have a vote. One other thing, too, that Massie said that was very interesting. He said, despite this announcement that the House will shut down, it actually won't shut down because Johnson doesn't trust Trump to not make recess appointments. Now, they're all the same party. They're all Republicans.
Hit of vipers.
Oh, my God. It's shocking to me. So Johnson came to an agreement this week. And folks, this is not reported in the media. This is breaking news from Thomas Massie's mouth. Johnson came to an agreement with John Thune, the majority leader in the Senate, that every 8 days they will gavel the House and the Senate into session and then immediately gavel it out of session. Okay, the whole process takes 5 seconds.
This is like the guy in the bottom of the hatch on Lost who has to keep pushing the button to
pushing the button. That's right. That's exactly what it is. So that way they're in recess, but they're really not in recess. That way they can't vote on Epstein, but Trump can't make any federal appointments. Shocking.
Well, just in case you were bored, John, and I don't think you were, this just broke in the New York Times while you were talking to Thomas. AG Pam Bondi, this is the lead story in the Times right now, informed Trump in the spring that his name appeared in the Epstein files, according to 3 people with knowledge of the exchange. The disclosure came as part of a broader briefing on the case by the FBI and prosecutors. It was made by Bondi during a meeting that also included the Deputy AG Todd Blanche and covered a variety of topics. She meets regularly with Trump, officials said. They informed Trump, the president, that his name, as well as those of other high-profile figures, came up during their re-examination of the Epstein files that had not previously been made public. Trump has already appeared in documents related to the investigation. Steve Chung wouldn't answer any questions about this briefing, and basically reminded everyone that this was fake news, supposedly. And this has all previously been reported by the Wall Street Journal. But, you know,
this is a bona fide scandal, Ted.
It is.
It is.
It is.
Wow.
I mean, it's like what we thought it was, right? I mean, we thought, you know, the only answers here were that it had to be either the president or himself who was somehow implicated to some extent. You know, I have to admit that it doesn't really pass the smell test that the president is a pedophile. But
no.
I don't believe that.
No,
But
I don't believe it either. No,
there's
no evidence of that.
I mean, of course, anything's possible, but I just don't think. Yeah, there's like you said, there's most things are usually the way they seem. Although every now and then you're like, what? So this could be one of those times. But it's got to be someone close to him. It's got to be someone he cares about. He's running interference for.
It has to be. And I'll tell you what, it has to be Dan Bongino that leaked this to the New York Times, right?
Right.
It has to be.
There is no other possibility. Yeah. So Elon Musk told the truth.
Yeah, Elon Musk told the truth, which then makes me think, how in the world did Elon Musk know that Donald Trump was in the Epstein files when Musk should not have had access to law enforcement information? That's a second thing.
Well, that's a good question. Although apparently Doge had and Musk had their noses all sorts of holes that they weren't supposed to be.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
So I mean, I thought we were going to be just talking about sending Congress home early and what a bad look that was. I mean, Massie was quoted in this morning's media, I guess probably from stuff he said yesterday to reporters, saying that MAGA world isn't going to forget about this just because 6 weeks go by. This really does remind me of Watergate summer when things dragged out, and I think about it was no air conditioning in that Senate hearing. It's like everyone's hot and sweaty. It was boring. And this low-level functionary named Paul Butterfield comes in and he's just just says, and then the tape recorder and the Oval Office.
And people are like, what? There's a tape recorder in the Oval Office?
Reporters go scrambling out the door.
I was a little kid and I remember that.
Me too. It was like, what? And I remember always thinking that if Nixon hadn't dragged his ass on this whole thing, we would have never gotten to that point.
No.
The more Trump does this, the more it's staying in the news. I know he's hoping there's going to be an asteroid hit or, Jesus is going to finally come back and say hi or something's going to happen that's going to wipe this off the headlines. But I don't see it.
No, I don't either. And I'll tell you what, Massie said some other things that made me I wanted to yelp out loud. He said that this discharge petition, he wrote it, but it's co-sponsored by Ro Khanna. Mm-hmm. And he said that he and Ro Khanna have a lot of respect for each other. They work together on a lot of legislation, and they are of one mind on this issue. And then I was all done talking. Frankly, I was enjoying listening to him. I've been to a couple of baseball games with Thomas Massie. He is a lovely man. You don't have to agree with everything he says. He's very constitutionalist, but that's cool. But he is such a patriot. He said a couple things that were fascinating, and I'll tell you the one of lesser importance first. He said that there's a kind of a phony. What's the number? 401c3, whatever that number is. 503c1.
501c3.
Okay, that. Thank you.
Nonprofit.
You
and you don't pay taxes on it.
That's right. So it all of a sudden started broadcasting TV commercials against him in his district. 501c3. Thank you. So it's broadcasting hit pieces against him. And he said it took his staff all of 15 minutes to trace the registration of this 501c3 back to the White House. Just like that. It's like, no, you can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. But this organization has spent, and it's called like the Make America Great Again Patriots. Some stupid thing like that. And he said they've already spent $1.8 million. So he's in serious trouble. He's being primaried in Kentucky. I actually went back Friday, I guess it was, and I looked at the polls. There's not a whole lot of polling in these individual congressional races so far, but his constituents love him and they want him to stand up like this. Okay, that was the less interesting thing that he said. The more interesting thing that he said is the last question of the panel. The host said, so Congressman Massie, you find yourself at odds with the administration a lot, like all the time. And then he laughed and he said, yes. And remember, I was the only Republican who voted against Mike Johnson for speaker. So everybody's mad at Massie.
He's the Barbara Lee of the right.
He's the Barbara Lee of the right. Exactly. And
or
she
maybe
said,
the Rand Paul. I mean, Rand Paul's one of those.
But Rand Paul's kind of a phony, though. Massie's a true believer. He's really doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So she says, is there any chance that you might consider running for president under Elon Musk's new America Party? Maybe you and Ro Khanna could do something together.
Unity ticket.
He says, never say never.
Well, that's always the right answer.
And I was like, oh my God. I mean, what any other politician would say is, I'm a Republican. I'm a lifelong Republican. I stand with the Republican Party. I'm going to work to change the Republican Party from within. That's not what he said. He said, never say never. My mouth dropped open.
It's the right
on the air.
It's an honest answer.
It was an honest answer.
I've had this question up for a little while here. Diana Montoya is asking, so neither of us, we've said this already, think that it's likely that Trump could have sexually assaulted a young girl. Let me tell you why I don't think that's true. I mean,
and then I'll follow you.
I've read thousands of pages of biographies of Donald Trump. I wrote a biography of Donald Trump. I don't recommend that you buy it. It's really not one of my best books. I mean, it's okay. I have better books if you want to buy one of my books. But I learned a lot about him, and he's led such a public life that it's just hard to believe that if he had these predilections, or if he was really particularly interested in unusual sex, we wouldn't have heard about it by now.
Right,
it just doesn't seem likely. It's not like, think about, like, Matt Gaetz was only a congressman and everything came out, right? I mean, Larry Craig, Mr. Wide Stance at the St. Paul airport. Again, it's just a senator from Idaho. We found out everything. So with Donald Trump, who's, the most public person in the United States, and has been for decades, I think we would just know. We know he likes to fuck porn stars now and then, and other random skanks besides his wife, or sometimes the random skank becomes his wife. But that's not really unusual.
No.
For dudes in general, and for dudes like at that level. I mean, they have their wives and they have their families and they love them, and they also have sex on the side sometimes, but they do it with adults. I mean, that's my take. Again, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball here. If I did, I'd be buying more stocks.
No, I agree with you. I think if he had done something like that, it would have come out by now, even just as a rumor. We also have the statement from Stormy Daniels that he was 100% vanilla, that there was nothing special or out of the ordinary.
True. Yeah, he was just vanilla. He was the missionary man.
Totally missionary. Yep. And, he made that comment when he was still friendly with Epstein. He made that comment about, Jeff's a good guy. He's a fun guy. He loves women just like I do. He loves them young, but he loves women.
Right.
And I think there was a lot behind that statement.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, too. I mean, we do live in a world where perhaps it would be nice if you knew about the sexual assault and pedophilia, that you might step up and try to stop it, or even report it to the authorities. But I suppose that's too much to hope for in this case.
Right.
So, but I mean, I think clearly. So now we have the speculation game. I mean, I'm not going to throw out names here, but we're all going to be wondering, who is Trump covering for? Is it one person? Are there multiple? Is there a multiplicity? Who is it and why? There's someone. There's got to be.
There has to be, because otherwise this doesn't make any sense. If he had nothing to hide, he would have ordered the release of the information. He campaigned on ordering the release of the information. He released most of the JFK documents. He released the MLK documents. He's in the process of releasing the RFK documents. But then all of a sudden, like magic, There are no Epstein documents.
Yep. Nope. No, there were no files until there were files, and then there's no files again. I love Speaker Johnson's comment that only kind of the best files, the proper files, the reliable files should be released. And who's going to get to decide that? Is it going to be you, John, or is it going to be me, Ted?
Right.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
It's going to be them. And the truth will out. This is going to, yeah.
And that's always the case. I say that a lot. Sometimes it takes years, decades even, but the truth always comes out. Always. Always. You know, I remember 6 weeks before my release from prison, I called my wife and I said, I was allowed to call her every other day for 15 minutes. So I said, how was your day? She said, it was great. And I said, really? It was great? Why was it so great? And she said, because the Senate torture report came out today and it proved that everything you said was true. So I had to wait from 2007 to December of 2015. It took 8 years, but my truth came out. This Epstein truth is going to come out, especially when you have people on the inside of the system who hate that it's not come out yet. Bongino's furious to the point where he's talking about quitting. Kash Patel is in a real situation right now where his reputation's on the line, and Donald Trump's only going to be president for 3.5 more years. And then what does Patel do? You got to be on the side of righteousness here. Otherwise, you're going to ruin yourself.